Hello, I'm Jacques Halbronn. It's one of my lectures on French astrology from France, the voice of France, and we are 30th May 2014. I would like to develop a very important point which I have recently discovered and that I had neglected until now, at least consciously. It is a question of the size when you make a prediction. It will not indicate the size of the event. It is as if you would not even make any prediction. The prediction is the size. No size, no prediction. What happens at the micro level is not what happens at the macro level. Of course, there is an analogy, there is a similitude, there is a correspondence, whatever, but it's totally different, and the stakes are not the same. It is as being the mayor of London or the mayor of a very small town, like, I don't know, Exeter or Exmouth, and or Tunbridge Wells or whatever. And this is not comparable. Someone can be quite capable of handling a small matter and totally competent to handle larger matters. So, the question of size is determinant not only for prediction but also to describe a personality. What sort of person he is? Is he able to handle something big or only something small? That's as simple as that. And I think astrology has mainly to do with that question of the size, of the dimension, of the scale. And there is, I could even say nothing else to expect from astrology that sort of precision, change of scale, change of dimension, from big to small, from small to big. This is major point, a major point. Suddenly, things get bigger and bigger, enormous. And suddenly, things happen to reduce themselves to a very small level. And that means also many more people to handle small things than to handle big things. That's obvious. If there are big things, there are not as many big things as there are small things. That's obvious too. Yes, it's a matter of common sense, but common sense is not necessarily the best thing we have in astrology. So, a leader should be able to pass from one situation to another. I used to say that small things could be called national by comparison with big things which could be called imperial. That's a terminology that you can accept or not or replace it. That's the way I would like to speak. National meaning local, and imperial meaning supranational, federal, at a planetary level. And ambition, big projects, big ambitious projects, are not the same as small ones. And maybe I will be called misogynist, or something, I don't know exactly how you say that in English. But it is true that women are more at ease in small things than in big things, and vice versa for men. So, when things are becoming reduced, small, you can employ a great deal of people. It's a little like terrorism. Terrorism is making things very small. So small that everybody can handle it. And terrorism is favorable to women because they have a reduced approach of the world and they need to control this small world which is theirs. On the contrary, when you need a great extension of things at the supranational level, at an interdisciplinary level, where there are bridges to build between domains which were separate, then you have really a need for great men. I say that as clearly as I can, and I don't use, false expressions and fake language. So this is the idea, the general idea of the astrology I propose. Although whatever astrology it is, in any case, this point is essential from a deontological level point of view. You cannot just say something about somebody without precising, is it big, is it small, at this moment. If you don't do that work, that effort, you are not serious. You are not competent. So, of course, to do that, you need the proper instruments. That's obvious. And this is also another question. In my system, which is called the Astrocyclon, Astrocyclol, we distinguish two periods. A period called Venus, Venusian, and a period called Mars, Martian. The Martian period corresponds with the conjunction of Saturn with one of the four fixed stars called the royal stars. At the beginning of the four mutable signs today. The Martian period, like it happened in 1989, is a period which will separate things, which will cut things, which will make things small, specific. It's not a period to unite, it's a period, on the contrary, to separate, to distinguish, to sever, to cut, to divide. And it's a favorable period for women, favorable period for people who can only work on a reduced level and a reduced size. And it will last in a cycle of 7 years, Saturn cycle being divided in 4 periods of 7 years, and each group of 7 years being divided into 2 groups of 2 phases of 3 years and a half. We have, when the Saturn is at the midpoint between 2 fixed stars, 2 royal fixed stars, we pass to the Venusian period. And as I said, the Venusian period is a period of unity at a high level, high projects, high ambitions. And we see today some sort of high ambitions expressed. For instance, Putin has just created in the next days, the last days and next days, the Union, Eurasiatic Economic Union. It's important to include Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarusia, and other groups, other countries. This idea of handling complex questions and finding a solution which will include and englobe very different points, very different groups, very different entities, is a challenge of Venusian nature. And we are actually now, for still about 8 months, in a period of Venusian nature, which means we have to try, not just to expect and to observe what happens, but we have to console people in that direction, because afterwards it will be too late. Astrology has to do with that sort of idea that there is a time for doing certain things, big or small, and if you pass over beyond this time, this delay, then you will fail. You will be caught by time. You won't finish your work. So you have to start at the proper time and to take your time to do it when it's possible to do it. And very often, because people ignore astrology, they start too late their efforts, and they fail, or at least they avoid, or at least they do not reach the highest level they might have reached if they had started earlier. So it's a pity for everybody. And by knowing astrology better, knowing the real astrology, there could be a considerable improvement of the performances of mankind at every level. Small level when it's necessary, but big level when it's necessary. So this is what the contribution of astrology to the world, to the 21st century, could be. Venetian period means a period where you refuse divisions, where you want to cancel divisions, you want to abolish them. And you have very few leaders who are able to do that. We're very few leaders who are able to do that at a high level. And high level means a level where entities which were separated in a rather strong way will, however, be united. It has to be a challenge of going beyond the divisions which really seem to exist and seem to exist definitely. Small level doesn't have this, which is Martian, doesn't have this challenge. On the contrary, small level nearly means that you have to show that what we believed as united is not any longer united. I gave you the example of 1989, when a bloc of countries suddenly became an addition of several specificities and local interests and languages and geographical differences. See? Mars will destroy the unity of things. The unity of the world is destroyed by Mars. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's not necessarily wrong. I like to use the expression of the Babel Tower. There are two moments in the Babel Tower. The moment the tower is built, and the moment the tower is destroyed. On the contrary, when it's destroyed, then it is rebuilt, let's say. So when it's rebuilt, it's Venus. If it's destroyed, it's Mars. So, there is in a way, astrology, it may be a minor point, but I like to finish on that question. Astrology is probably a guarantee, a sort of Babel system which will prevent mankind to unite, I would say. It's a very tricky system which forces mankind every 3 years and a half to return to a division, to stop its progression. So it's a sort of obstacle invented to prevent mankind to develop as much as possible. It is exactly the intonation, the meaning of the Babel story. We want to prevent mankind to go too high. That's what is written in the Genesis, book of Genesis, the Old Testament. But 50% of the time, it's like the discussion between Pluto, the god Pluto, and Proserpine and Ceres, etc., or Hades and Demeter. A sort of struggle about time. After time will be Martian, which means will be the idea of reducing things, of passing to a small scale with a lot of people employed, and after time will be dedicated to the great ambition of unification of mankind, which hasn't been destroyed, but which will only exist after the time. So there's a sort of compromise between Venus and Mars. That is the basis of astrology. So when the Venetian time comes back, we return to the Babel period of building a big tower, a unique tower, and I know the word tower has a special meaning for Americans, with the twin towers. The idea of building the tower, destroying the tower, is very symbolic in this collective unconscious of mankind. So, forces, I like the idea, even if it looks a little strange. I think there are forces which are against the development of mankind. And they are the Martian forces, and the astrology is the implementation of these forces that we could even call the devil forces, Satan forces. And it's written in the Apocalypse that from time to time Satan is unchained, is liberated from his chains, from his prison, and has the possibility of expressing himself. And after a certain moment, he returns to his prison, and this is the time of Venus. So we are now in the time of Venus for still a few months, for about a month, a year and a half, and that means that Saturn has been chained again, has been imprisoned again, and that mankind will be able to form something much more unique in the sense of united, of big. Mankind is a period of doing big things. While when Mars comes back, the time is for small things. So that was the general idea. We cannot, from the chart, know if a person is a leader for big things or for small things. And in a way, as I say, the same leader can be at the same time capable at certain times to be a Martian leader, and at other times to be a Venetian leader. And so generally you become, first of all, a small leader, and then later on you might prove that you are a bigger leader. It's always a matter of career, of progression. But you can also pass from big leader to small leader, etc. It's an alternative. It's a sort of circularity of cycles.